You missed it. I hadn't hit record yet, and I just sat on all my wires, and my whole extension cord came tumbling down. Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, November 26th. Where did November go? I feel like really old saying stuff like that, like, oh my god, where did the year go? But it's true, time just goes fast. I actually have been pretty busy last week. I don't think I filmed, but I ended up finishing some pretty heavy rewrites, which was super exciting. I'm gonna say it for the 22nd time, but chapter 1 is done. At least my heavy rewrite is done. So I reshifted my book, moved some things around, and started the story earlier than I had previously started it, which is fine. My story was only like 62,000 words, I think, so it's got room for growth, and I think this will really help with preventing some info dumping, which my first chapter had some serious issues with. I was throwing a lot on you at once, and this is a lot more gradual. I'm not so good at that. I thought exposition and like weaving in information and backstory, that stuff was easy, but when it comes to your own story, it is so hard because you know in your mind, because you've been thinking about it for years, your story and all of the backstory and all of the information on how your world works, all that world building stuff, but your writer or your reader doesn't know. And so figuring out how to weave that in, remembering what you've already weaved in, what you haven't weaved in, that's the tricky stuff. Like, what have you told the reader so far and what haven't you told them? That's what I really struggled with my first draft. Like, reading through it, I was like, it was hard to keep track of it, which is why I had to take such a long break from after I wrote my first draft to revising, because I simply just didn't know or couldn't keep track of what the reader knew, because in my head I knew all the answers. Anyway, so I submitted my new, brand spanking new, all fresh words first draft. I think it's like 4,000 words, so I guess I wrote more than a few hundred during NaNoWriMo. I submitted that, and tonight I have one of my workshops, and then tomorrow I have my second workshop. I submitted the same thing for both, so that way I'm getting, I think, 30 people's opinions on it, and we'll see. I do feel confident that the writing is at least good. I worry about the pacing. So with young adult, and I've talked about this briefly, but it's recommended, strongly encouraged, that you begin your story with faster pacing to hook your young adult reader in. So with adult, you can kind of slowly build up to the action. Adult novels are much more forgiving when it comes to pacing. If you've read a Stephen King novel, you know books can be strongly paced, or slowly paced, I mean. He's certainly not the king of slow pacing, or even like Lord of the Rings, I believe, starts really slow. But young adult, usually there's some pretty big action pretty early on, and the whole book is paced much more quickly. And so my book is fast paced once you get into it, but I did start with a slower beginning, or I'm trying a slower beginning with this revision, so I'm curious how my readers will respond to that. Specifically, if there is going to be a difference between my young adult group and just my general novel writing group. I'm curious if they're gonna have very differing opinions on it. And then my next chapter is also going to be new. I haven't started it because I want some feedback on the pacing question first, just because my second chapter, I think, also won't have too much action. At least in my head it won't yet, but if people are like, okay, you need to start getting the show on the road, then I'm gonna have to brainstorm and rearrange. And then after that, though, everything's gonna just be pretty much editing and revising what I've already written. So I think this is only gonna be the only new addition as far as whole chapters go. Everything else is definitely gonna have some scenes injected in certain chapters, but like I said before on these videos, I'm pretty happy with the ending of the book. It's just the beginning I knew needed a lot of reworking. As far as the rest of my day, I'm working from home today, as I do every Monday. So I didn't get much sleep last night because I was up really late editing my cruise vlog. I always do this. If I have a really big video that I know is going to need a lot of editing, I put it off. Like, I just kind of don't want to do it, and then I end up not uploading for like almost a whole month. I'm sorry. I knew this one was going to be a pain because I had to grab videos from other people, like friends and family, so I had to go find them, and then I had to like mix them all, and then I had to find songs. And you guys don't care about this stuff, but sometimes I love editing, but big projects like this I dread, absolutely dread. I love sit-down videos. Those are so easy to edit. I just have to cut out all the ums and then it's good to go, as long as I don't ramble too much. So the rest of the plan for today, I have a super secret project that I'm doing that you guys will find out about later, towards the end of December. So I'm going to be working on that, and then I have to finish editing another student's work, blah blah blah. My weeks are pretty repetitive these days, my schedule, so yeah. All right, I better get going. All right, I just had to show you, while I was picking up things for my super secret project, I found these. Oh my god, I didn't even notice that it said women's. Thank God. Woo. Oh my gosh, I didn't know they come in different sizes. Whoops, well, it's my size, so yay. They finally put out more Harry Potter 12 Days of Socks. Last year, they sold out so fast at my Target and they weren't getting any more, and I went today thinking I wasn't gonna buy anything for myself, but then I saw they had one box left, and I was not about to make the same mistake of not getting them, so I bought a gift for myself, and I am so excited. With these 12 days, do you do it like the 12 days before Christmas, or do you just start December 1st and then, I don't know. But I got myself a present. Hello guys, just got done with my workshop critique. Oh my god, I feel so raw afterwards. That's the best word to describe how I feel. Like sitting there for an hour and your baby, your passion, your work that you've poured your heart and soul into, and it's critiqued for an hour, and like people mention what they don't like about it, and oh my god, it's brutal. Everyone's very nice and everyone says all lovely things about what they do like about it, but just whew, it makes me feel very raw. But the feedback was overall definitely great, because everyone was saying how much they liked this opening better than the last one, so that's really good. There was confusion a little bit with the point of view, and I think that's what breaks my heart the most, because that's been like my #1 struggle. So the fact that it's still confusing is just like, no. I don't think it's necessarily confusing. They followed along okay, but a lot of people were saying that it will make more sense if the pattern of the point of view repeats. Basically, I go first person to third. Like I start the chapter first person and then I switch to third. And that was a creative choice of mine. Some people were confused by it. Hopefully it makes sense as they keep reading. We'll see. I was realizing this class, like, I am so used to getting critique on paper. You know, I worked for a newspaper, like all of our feedback came in form of critique, like paper, and written critique, but hearing it in person, or like at least over the conference, it feels so much more brutal. Like you can't just kind of put down the paper to digest the comment, like it just keeps coming at you. So it's like, oh, there are a lot of times where I just want to be like, can we pause for a second? Like I just want to focus my mind around what you're saying. But yeah, overall, it's obviously good. I'm excited to read the written feedback once I've had time to digest, and I'm excited for tomorrow's feedback just because that group is a lot more excitable. I realized your critique group, your critique partners, I guess, too, your workshop group, it does make a huge difference in how you feel about your writing. I feel like for whatever reason, my second class, my on-campus class that's focused on just writing a novel, not young adult specific, so the broader class, that group is a lot more excitable, and I don't know, I guess I don't want to say positive because it's not like my other class is not positive. It's just the other class feels much more formal. I think it's the style too, because we're on conference calls, so you like don't want to interrupt people. You have your little speech of what you're gonna say and you say it. And whereas my on-campus class, like, you know, you're in person, you're sitting at a round table with 15 other writers and you're all just bouncing off each other. So it's just a lot more lively. And so that one feels like more positive, and I know I'm gonna get more of an ego boost from that class, so I'm glad I have that one second. I guess my motto, or my lesson learned there, is that I definitely prefer in-person feedback face-to-face versus like on a conference call. Though I don't mind written feedback, but I think in-person is obviously more valuable because you can have a more immediate clarification, like, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? What do you mean by that, Haley? See, I can't answer you right away. Okay, I just wanted to come on and say that. I feel drained, so I was going to, what was I gonna do? I was gonna work on some more edits or something, but I think I'm actually gonna eat my dinner and watch Murder, She Wrote and do a puzzle. That sounds really good right about now. Okay. Good morning, guys. It is December 2nd, Sunday, and yesterday was Zach's 26th birthday. Woo! Happy birthday, Zach! We are officially the same age again. Very exciting. Zach had a cold recently, and I think that I've caught it because I slept like 12 hours last night. So it's been a while since I picked up the camera, but I feel like I've done a lot. And I feel bad that I didn't pick up the camera during it, but I don't know, I was so busy on finishing that I didn't even think, or I just didn't worry about picking up the camera, if that makes sense. Ugh, I probably should have makeup on for this. So what have I been doing? I had my second workshop where my classmates went over my new chapter 1. It was during that workshop that I realized I was having these weird feelings afterwards, because it was like, everyone brought up good points, everyone was really nice, everyone had certain confusions they were specific about, and they loved certain things and they were excited about certain things, and a lot of people mentioned that they would love to read this book, which was all great. And I think though I just realized, oh my god, like it hit me for the first time how much work still is left to do in this book if I want it to be as great as I know it can be. So I could easily, well not easily, easily was a huge lie. I could have this book, tighten it up, finish it on the path that I was envisioning by the end of the year, start querying it out, and it would be a good book. It would be good. But I think one of the things my workshops taught me, when people are bouncing out different ideas, when I start to have different ideas, because I've had a lot of ideas, I have been almost settling into the idea of just good and just getting it out there instead of focusing on actually making this book the best that it can be. I think a lot of that comes from watching a lot of these AuthorTube videos where people are cranking out their books, where they sit down, they have a structured goal of, okay, I'm gonna write X amount of words and then I'm gonna publish by December, and then, you know, like specifically with self-publishing because you have a lot more control over that. And I think to me, it became very structured and almost mechanical when I was thinking about publishing my own book. And obviously you want a goal of when you'll be done, because I get it, like I've been working on this now for 2 years. Like I want to be done, I want to put it out there. I haven't always been working diligently those 2 years, so I feel dishonest saying 2 years, but I've been thinking about this book and working at it on and off for 2 years. And I want to be done too, like not in a way that I don't like it, but just I'm ready for that next step. Emotionally, I feel like, okay, I've been revising for a year now, like I want to get to the next step. I guess I just realized how big my book really could be if I took a breath, stopped focusing on a timeline, and just focused on actually making it great. Because I met with my professor, so after my workshop, I was kind of feeling overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I still have a lot to figure out if I want this book to be even better, because I would get an idea. This is what happens with revising. You get an idea, and outlining too, but you get an idea, and it's amazing. You're like, yes, this is the best idea, but it changes everything down the line, because it's like, oh, well, then this couldn't happen, and this couldn't happen, and this would have to happen. And you're like, okay, you figured all the changes. And then you get another idea for something else, and you're like, oh, like, that's fantastic, I should do that. But now it's going to change this and this. And that's what's been happening to me for a year now with revising. I keep getting new ideas that, you know, if they were just like okay ideas and it was just like a fun idea, I would just brush it off. But a lot of these ideas I think could really improve things and tighten things up and make things more connected and make things cooler and make the plot more interesting and the characters more developed. And so I've been implementing them. I haven't just been freezing them out, but it's time consuming and it's overwhelming how much it's changed. And like at this point, guys, I'm honest, like I have to rewrite the whole thing. I really do. Like, and obviously some scenes can be transferred over, and like there's gonna be a lot of overlap. Like, rewrite's a strong word, but I feel at this point like it has to be rewritten and so much has to change. Like, I was working on my outline for my meeting with my professor. So after my second workshop, he was talking to me. He's like, it seems like you know these characters really well. And I was like, I do. I was like, because he mentioned he could do conferences one-on-one with us if we wanted to talk to him. So he's a published author, agented. He is the real deal in the business. He's been doing this forever. And I was like, honestly, can I just sit down with you and talk about my outline? Because I just need to know, like, I don't even know what it is I exactly wanted to talk about. I just wanted to talk to somebody about it because I was just feeling all these feelings. He's like, oh my god, yeah, of course. And so we met on Friday, so a couple days ago, and I was reworking my outline to send to him in advance so that he had it, because he's only read the first chapter, so at this point he has no idea where my book is going. And as I was reworking the outline, I realized I only got to chapter 3 because I thought, oh, I'll just do it over lunch and send it to him. No. It was taking forever. It was like, oh my god, this is going to be a whole new story. And then I met with him and was talking about, you know, I sat down, explained to him what my book was about, who the characters were, really just telling him my whole idea for my story and what I have right now. And he was, you know, he looked at me, he's like, Haley, this is a lot. And he's like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think this is one book. I think this could be, he was like, I think this could be a book that you just grow forever. Like, it, you know, this has unlimited potential. And I was like, oh dear God, don't tell me that, because that feels overwhelming. But he's like, I think for your first book, you really need to focus on one thing. Because my universe with these Legends of the Crystal Skulls, for those who don't know what my book's about, it's grown so much. The magic behind the skulls has grown so much, and it's become this huge thing. And I've thought about bringing it back, making it smaller just so it fits in this book better. But I'm like, no, these ideas, they're all good. Like, I don't want to do that. And so he thinks strongly I need to focus a little bit more so that the characters have room to grow. So one of the issues with my book, with my first draft that I was talking about, was that my characters felt like they were being dragged along in the story instead of them growing. And since I've been writing this semester in my classes, I've been focusing more on the characters, and I realized, wow, if you focus on character development, it adds a lot to your story. It doesn't feel shallow, but the plot moves a lot slower. And so I get what he's saying, that I could just focus on like one specific thing and then have the following books make the universe grow bigger. So to sum it up very briefly, the start of my story, there is one of the crystal skulls is missing, which is very bad because it holds big powers, and all the guardians of these crystal skulls, none of them know each other, and so they have to find each other because there's one of the guardians is trying to find the missing skull and collect all the other skulls and gain all of those powers for him or herself. I don't want to spoil things. So it's like 3 big things going on, and it can be done in one book. I know this because my first draft, it was done. But it does feel like a lot, and it feels like the characters got put by the wayside in that. And he's saying, I need to break it up. and that he likes all of it, but I need to just focus more on the characters because he felt that's what was missing in my outline and in my description of the story, because I had asked him, sorry, I'm all over the place with my thoughts right now. If you've watched my past videos, you know that one of our assignments was asking the major dramatic question of our story, and so that's what the big question that your story is trying to solve, and your main character has to be the subject of that question. So or the subject, yeah. So for example, in Hamlet, it's, will Hamlet avenge his father's death? That's the major dramatic question that follows through the entire play, or is it a book? I think it's a play, of Hamlet by Shakespeare. And when I thought about that for my story, I realized I didn't know. I didn't know what the major dramatic question was, because it was so plot heavy that the characters' motivations kind of got lost. It was like they were just being dragged along for the story, and that's obviously a problem. And I think that's really what sparked this whole thing. And throughout this whole semester, and really even over the summer since I started my classes, and we've been having to address these specific things with our stories, and we've been sharing it with people other than really just myself. Like, I did not share my story, my first draft, with anybody. A little bit with my friend Erin, but oh my god, what I shared with her was so bad. I don't know how she still thinks I'm a good writer. I realized that, what was I saying? Shoot. I realized that there are a lot of things I could do to make my story even better. I forgot what I was saying in that sentence. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. Please forgive my appearance. I know, I look disgusting. I have not showered yet. I literally just woke up and started filming this, so please forgive me. I mean, I say that as if this is not how I normally look in these vlogs. You guys, it's because by the time I pick up the camera, it's either the end of the day or the first part of the day, so this is what I look like. Or it's on a day I'm not working, so I'm not wearing makeup. I don't know what I was saying with all this. Basically, I realized if I want to be an author, and not just an author, but a good author, if I want to actually make this book the best I can be, and not just crank it out because that's what everyone else seems to be doing, I need to slow down. I need to stop, and I need to think, and I need to think about what's best, and I need to not be afraid of admitting that maybe this book is part of a series and not a standalone. I didn't want that. I really wanted to do a first book that was a standalone so that I could just get that under wraps, but guys, I think he is right. I think this can't be a standalone. I think it wouldn't do the story justice, and it wouldn't do the characters justice. So now I just have to figure out where in my current book I'm going to cut it off, and if I'm going to actually refocus something. And I recently added a new element that is going to completely change a lot. If I have any advice for this, it's that when I was first drafting, I held my story so close to myself. I didn't share with anyone what my story really was even about. Like, I gave a general synopsis of, oh, it's about the legend of the Crystal Skulls, but that was it. And now I've realized the value of bouncing off ideas with someone. And obviously, you don't want to do this, or at least I know I wouldn't want to do this constantly and in the beginning, because I do want time to think about my story without outside opinions. But there's nothing wrong with when you're stuck or when you're feeling lost and you don't know what to do. Just bounce ideas off someone, because I gained so much from my meeting with my professor, and I don't think it was just because he's experienced. I think it was because he was a different brain. Like, even like just talking with Zach, who he reads a lot, so he has experience that way too, but he's not a writer. But just talking with him, I've been opening up more to him about what my story is about and the problems I'm having, and it's been so helpful just having that second brain, because a book is huge. And I think that's why traditionally published writers who are already in the business have such an advantage if you've got this agent and an editor to bounce ideas off in the beginning, because it helps so much and it gives you a new perspective and a new idea, and you just need someone who's not afraid to say, oh, I don't like that. Like I told Zach, like, if I'm going to talk to you about this, I need you to be honest when you think something is a bad idea. Because my professor did not hold back. He would blatantly tell in our meeting, he'd be like, no, like, I don't like this. I got bored with this. I'm like, okay. But he also said he thought that this could be really something, and there's no better feeling than that. I'm going to get my coffee. I hear that it's done. Maybe I'll shower. I was gonna go for a run again today, but it is raining. Ooh, I just want to add on this clip. And I think next clip I'll summarize it up because I know it's the end of NaNoWriMo and I haven't even addressed that. Can you guess why? I did bad. But I don't feel like I did bad. I feel like I did really well this month. I just wasn't writing as much. Oh god, I forgot what I was gonna say again. What is wrong with me? What was I talking about? I don't want to have to rewind in this clip. What was I talking about, Haley? I don't know. It's gone. I have no idea what I was talking about. But anyway, in the next clip, I will end it because I know it's the end of NaNoWriMo. Is that what I was talking about? I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope that wasn't too rambly and you got something out of it. Just remembering what I would tell myself when I was drafting. Don't be afraid how long you still have to go. Enjoy the process where you are right now. That's where I'm at. You know, I am revising this book. I'm coming up with new ideas. I am re-outlining. And if I think about how much further I have to go and what this all means, I start to feel like, oh my god, this book's never gonna get finished. Oh my god, it's gonna take forever. But I'm enjoying the process, or reminding myself, Haley, enjoy the process. You love outlining. That's your favorite part, and now you get to do it again, and it's exciting, and it's making your story better. And yes, you're rewriting your book, but it's going to be a lot easier than when you first drafted it because you get to cheat and pull scenes that you still want to keep. So, alright, I will shower and come back, wrap up this week's video, and update you guys on my NaNoWriMo experience and what the rest of the year is going to look like for me. In my head, in my mind. Okay. Bye. So I told myself I was gonna come back on these vlogs with makeup to close them, look good, and that just didn't happen this week. So I want to wrap up this week of thoughts before things get too long. NaNoWriMo was a bust word count wise, but I still feel like I got really far in my story, and so I'm really not that disappointed. Sorry, I have a cold. It came on very suddenly, so I'm very nasally and puffy from wiping my nose all day long and sneezing all day long. So please forgive my extra sad appearance tonight. But I just want to touch on briefly, it was something I was kind of thinking about randomly, but about how much I feel my writing has improved and how far I still feel I have to go. There's a lot of people in my writing classes, I admit, that are, I feel, way better than me. They have just a natural gift for this. They have a natural eye for critiquing. They see things when we talk about other people's works and workshops that I'm like, oh, I didn't even pick that up. Like, and it feels very discouraging at first because I think there's this inclination or this belief that when you're passionate about the arts, or I guess whatever, that you have a natural talent for it, or that you should have a natural talent for it. And sometimes that's not always the case. Personally, I think anybody can write. I think if it is your passion, do it. Like, just write your style. Like, you don't have to write like Stephen King because that's not your writing voice. Like, do your best voice, write your best words. I'm not articulating this well, I am sorry, but I think if you want to be a writer, is what I'm trying to say. While I think that some people are born with that talent, and maybe some people are blessed to have both talent and passion for the same thing, that's awesome. Not everyone is that way, and I don't think that should stop you from your passion. You know, a lot of people talk about all these great writers who got rejection slips, especially earlier in their career. I mean, if you read Stephen King's book on writing, which I've talked about a million billion times, and I'm going to keep talking about it, he talks about as a kid that he got a lot of rejection letters, and it took a long time for one of his books to be published. Carrie was his first published book. It was not the first book he wrote. And I think that a lot of people take from that story, oh, I bet those other agents that turned him down hate themselves. Like, aren't they mad? But what I take from that is he got better. And, you know, when Stephen King started writing, he didn't get those rejection slips just so future publishers could teach him a lesson and create good character in him. No, he got it because the writing probably sucked. And he kept going, though. And I'm sure there is a huge dose of talent in there too, but one of the things he talks about in his book, that's honestly, it's like 5% talent, 95% drive. And one good lesson I learned from my dad was that when him and his sister, they started skiing as kids, my aunt, his sister, was really good naturally. She just had the feel for skiing. She could, you know, she picked it up so much faster than him, whereas he really struggled. But he stuck with it and she didn't, and now he can out-ski anyone in our family. Like, he's an amazing skier. And it's not because he had a natural talent for it, it's because he had a passion for it. And I think that applies to writing too. So if you feel discouraged sometimes that you read other people's work and you're like, wow, I could never be this good, or I'm not this good, and I wish I was more talented, and maybe I'm not talented enough for this. Take that word out. Like, talent's cool and all. I think it sets your starting point, but it does not define your end point. It has nothing to do with your end point unless you have drive and talent, in which case that's not proving my point, so I'm gonna ignore it. Cherry picking. I just wanted to end on that note, just in case any of you guys are feeling slightly discouraged as we wrap up NaNoWriMo, even though NaNoWriMo's been done for a few days now. Whoops. Thoughts on Nano? I love that it's this time of year that writers seem to come alive. I do wish it was in January. I think that would be way better. I think that just seems like the perfect time of year. Like, once Christmas has passed, the holidays have passed, and you're just like in this cozy wintry mood and it's cold outside, it's like focus on writing. And maybe I'll just do my own NaNoWriMo in January. As far as what books I'm reading, what am I reading? What am I reading? I'm reading a Candace Cameron Bure book because she's just so happy and peppy, and her books always make me feel better. Even though they're very religious and I don't agree with everything that they talk about in that sense. I like her underlying message usually. But I want to give a literary book that I'm reading. Guys, I don't even know. What am I reading? I'll tell you guys what I'm going to read next. I really want to read the Percy Jackson series. I've had actually quite a few people who have read my work in progress. They've mentioned it reminds them of the Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief series, which I've never read, and so I'm really curious to read that and to see the comparisons, see the tone comparisons, and I don't know, I think I would just get a lot from that. So I was going to read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series next, because I've also never read those books, but I think maybe I'll do Percy Jackson just because, I don't know, we'll see what I read. We'll see which one's quicker. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. I hope you guys had a wonderful NaNoWriMo, and if you didn't, I hope you have a wonderful December Rimo. And happy holidays. Tonight's the first night of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to all of those viewers who celebrate. And I will see you guys in my next video.